So today we're going to do the handover video on the Swift Escape 686. We're going to start on the outside and then we're going to move on to the inside. So firstly, coming over to the passenger side and opening up the passenger door, you'll notice that you've got your bonnet release catch, which is just here. Pull that to release the bonnet. Whilst I'm here as well, you'll notice that you have got a point to fill up the tank, which is diesel, into there, along with some fitted blinds at the front, which just through pinching the clip like so will release the blind and allow you to pull it forward and connect the two to shut it off. Moving round to the bonnet, there's not many things that you need to know underneath here, but the main things that you need to know is if you're ever jump starting the vehicle. If that is the case, I'll show you how to do that now. I'll just lift the bonnet up. With the bonnet lifted, as I say, if you're jump starting the vehicle, your negative terminal just goes on to here, and your positive terminal is just underneath this cap here, where my finger is. There is a little plus sign onto there. It's a little bit difficult to see on the video, but just there. And then using your key, you can flick this cap up and connect onto there. As I say, they're the main things that you need to know. But just whilst the bonnet is open, to point out a couple more things, you've got your engine oil here, along with your dipstick, which is below. Your brake disc fluid is in this. You've then got your engine coolant. You've then got your power steering fluid. And then finally your washer fluid, which is just there. Moving along, you'll notice on this side of the vehicle, you've got a point for an external shower. Your external shower will be somewhere in the vehicle. And all you can do is connect this up, turn your pump on in the vehicle, which I'll show you how to operate. That will pull the water through and allow you to use the shower. Next to this, you have then got your cassette locker. With the locker door open, gains you access to the cassette. To remove this, all you need to do is pull up on the little orange handle and pull out like so. To empty this, it's dead simple. Pull out, and then using the little funnel, swivel that, as you can see, and then unscrew the cap. Using the orange button on the back here, not to be confused with this one, with this button right at the back, click that and that will release an internal vacuum. That will allow you to empty the entire contents out in one steady slurry without any splashback or air disrupting the flow. As I mentioned, you'll notice that you have got another little lever here, which is orange. This should always remain in this position. You should never need to move this. This is in essence what connects the blade of the toilet to the cassette and allows you to open and close the cassette. If this is slightly off or you've moved it, that will not allow you to slide the cassette back into place, so make sure it's in this. And that brings me on to the blade. When removing the cassette, you need to make sure that the blade on the toilet is always closed. I'll talk you through more of that and also show you the blade when we're on the inside of the vehicle, but it is imperative that you always make sure the blade on the toilet is closed, because in essence, when you go to remove this, if that blade is open, it will get caught and then ultimately will snap the mechanism. So do bear that in mind. Moving on from the cassette, you've then got your leisure battery and also your point for your hookup cable. Your leisure battery is nice and accessible underneath this locker, and as I say, your hookup cable for when you're on site will just connect into here. Then using the little channel here will allow the lead to come through. You can then shut the door, tighten it into position with the key, and then connect it to your on-site facility. Moving to the back, you'll notice there's a little truma vent here. This is in essence your chimney for your boiler. This does get very hot, so do bear that in mind. Don't ever hang anything on there, as it's not going to be good, so just bear that in mind. Now on the back, you can see that you've got a bike rack with two rails on there, along with a camera up at the top for when you're reversing. Coming over to the other side on the rear of the 686, you'll notice that you've got a little fill-up point for your fresh water. So when you're on site, all you need to do is undo this. Using a food grade hose pipe, you can then connect that to the on-site tap and feed the hose pipe into here. Let the water flow through, and then when it's spilling out, you know that you have obviously filled up the water for the fresh water tank. You can then reattach the cap and then move on onto the site. Now below here, you'll notice that you've got a grey handle. This is one of your main drain down points in the vehicle. You have three. The three drain down points are your wastewater drain down, your fresh water drain down, and finally your boiler drain down point. As I say, your wastewater is external to the vehicle, and that is indicated by the little tap. On site, you'll have a massive, let's say huge grid that you'll drive over, and all your drain down points you can open. For this, all you need to do is simply turn that little cap there, and that will release all the water and dump it. And you can see that that just links to the wastewater tank there. As indicated by the little sticker as well, that just shows you where that is. Now coming back up, moving on from the wastewater, you've then got your gas locker. The main thing to know about the gas is to always make sure that the gas is turned off when travelling due to safety regulations. But obviously when you're on site, you can then turn them on at the bottle and let the gas flow through, which is connected via a pigtail which will connect to your gas regulator. You've then got your habitation door, we'll go on the inside in a minute, and you've then got your Dometic fridge vents. Your fridge vents, or how this works, is obviously the fridge pulls all of its air from here through these vents, and that is what's used to cool the fridge. Now, for example, if it is a hot day and you have got the sun beating down on this side of the vehicle, it's not going to work very efficiently. So if that is the case, what you will need to do is keep this under shade or turn the vehicle around just to help that out. It'll help it more and allow the fridge to work more efficiently. Finally, on this side, you'll notice you've got an external gas point, which is dead handy. And as I say, once you've got your gas bottles on and the gas has flown through the system, you can turn this yellow valve using a little pipe which will connect to your barbecue and feed the gas through. Whilst we're on the side of the vehicle as well, you'll notice that you've got your awning attached to this side. How this will work is this is used, a winder rather, which will be somewhere in the vehicle, will connect onto the end of the awning, that end to be specific, and you can then wind out the awning. The awning will wind out approximately 3 to 4 metres, but before doing that, what you need to do is wind it out to a point you can reach it. You'll then have 2 legs concealed in the awning which will drop down. You can undo them and let them take the weight of the awning, then simply angle the legs and wind it out and simply walk the awning out. Now do bear in mind that the awning, as you can imagine, is like a massive sail on the side of your van, so if you get a little bit of wind, it's simply going to take the awning up and potentially snap the bracket. So with that in mind, please ensure that if it is windy, do put the awning away inside. We're now going to move on to the inside of the vehicle, so opening up the habitation door and clicking the little step button there, your step will eject and you can board the motorhome. Above, directly above the habitation area, you have 2 control panels. You've one for your Truma heating system, which is blown air, and then one for your control panel, which will operate everything in terms of your lights and also indicate your levels of your leisure battery and waste water tank, and fresh of course. So to turn that on, all you need to do is click that power button and that will power everything up. If you want the lights on, you then need to click cabin levels, cabin lights rather, and turning that on, that will activate your lights. Next to that, you've then got your view levels, so if you click that, it will show you your leisure battery level, your fresh water level, your wastewater level, and then your vehicle battery level as well. So it's dead simple and dead easy. On this side of this of the panel rather, you have a frost protect button. In essence, what that will do is it's a heated tank and will heat the tank up. So if you click that, that will turn that on and will help it when using the vehicle in cool climates. In my opinion, if you are using the vehicle in cool climates, for your wastewater tank, what I'd personally do is I'd put a bucket underneath there and leave that valve open just to ensure all the water runs out of the wastewater tank rather, and into the bucket. So then that way you're never going to risk getting any frozen water in the system. However, it is always good to use this just to, of course, add a little bit more of a precaution to it. Next to that, you've then got your water pump button, as you can see. You click that on and that will allow you to pull the water from the fresh water tank and out of your tap. Now how that works, all you need to do is when you're on site and you're filled up with water, click that water pump and go to all your taps, including your shower. Turn them on and turn them to hot. What that's going to do is it's going to pull fresh water from the freshwater tank into the boiler and then out of the tap. So therefore priming the boiler and priming the tap. Once you've done that and it's done spurting and spluttering and it's running relatively steadily, you can then flick it over to cold, do the exact same, and that's going to pull everything through. Now the reason I tell you to run it off the hot water first is your boiler will take approximately 10 litres of water, or hold 10 litres of water. When you're on site, if you can get that water into that boiler and then turn your heating on, what that's going to do is begin heating that water up. So by the time you come to use your hot water, it should be nice and warm for you. It's not like a house where it's going to get your boiler's going to get your water up to temperature straight away. It is going to take a bit of doing due to the amount of power that you have got supplied. So please do bear that in mind. But as I say, do that on your shower and also all your taps, and then you will have primed your system. Now the nice thing with that, providing you've got water in the vehicle, is you can leave your water pump on once you've primed your system, because on each of your taps you have a little micro switch which will activate and deactivate the pump whenever you do need it, similar to what you've got at home. Before moving on from the control panel, you'll also notice a little awning light there which will turn on the light on the outside of the vehicle. Moving on, you've then got your trimmer control panel for your heating, which is just next to the control panel. It's dead easy. All you need to do is hold this button on, and as you can see, it activates everything. Everything below the line is what you want to select, and using the dial, as you can see, I'm hovering over that option. All I need to do is use the dial to select through the options, and then simply click the button in to select. You can take the temperature of the vehicle all the way up to 30 degrees. So that's the vehicle's heating. You've then got the water temperature. You can run this off Eco, which is approximately 40 degrees, or hot, which is approximately 60 degrees. You'll be using hot mainly for when you're washing up, and Eco for when you're having a shower and things like that. We'll just focus it again. There we are. You've then also got the boost option, which will concentrate, instead of heating the vehicle's heating, will concentrate on heating the water for you. So for example, if you're on a site and it's usually quite cold and it's struggling to get it up to temperature, click the boost option, and after about half an hour that'll start to take effect and concentrating it on heating the water. Just gives it a bit more. Next, you've then got your fuel. You've got a few ways to fuel the vehicle, or fuel the heating rather. You can run it off gas, which when you're wild camping you'll be running off. You can run it off mix 1 or mix 2. Mix 1 is a mixture of gas and 1 kilowatt electric. Mix 2 is a mixture of gas and 2 kilowatt electric. You'll be majority of the time running that off when you're on a site which doesn't provide you with the greatest amount of power, or for example if the electric is struggling on its own. And then you've got the option of EL1, which is just purely 1 kilowatt electric, and EL2, which is 2 kilowatt electric, which 9 times out of 10 you'll be running it off when you're on a campsite. Just going back now, you've then got your fan speed. Now because I've not got anything selected, it's just giving me the option of vent, which will recirculate the air in the vehicle. However, when you have got one of these options selected with a temperature, it'll again give you the option of eco or high. Eco is just a light fan, and obviously a high is the high is just an intensified version of that. Like the water, the fan has a boost option, and it'll just work vice versa. So instead of heating the water, it'll concentrate on heating the vehicle itself. Coming back up to the control panel, just letting that focus. You can see at the bottom, you can, if you want, set a timer of when you want the heating to kick in. You can then change the time on the clock, and then at the bottom you've got your settings panel. The main thing in here that you need to know is your reset button. So scroll all the way to the end. You can then click reset and reset the entire thing. Now the only time you're going to need to reset this is if you get an error code on the Truma system. Now the reason you get an error code on this system is, for example, if you selected a fuel that you haven't got. So for example, if you're wild camping and you've no electric, so you're just running everything off gas, and you turn your heating on and you run it off EL2, you're going to get an error code because it's trying to heat the vehicle with something that it's not got. If that is the case, you'll get an error code on here, You'll then need to go into that settings panel, reset it, then wait 20 minutes, and then you're good to go. So moving away from the control panel, you've then got your kitchen area. In the kitchen, you can see you've got a microwave above there, which is strictly 230 volts. That will only work when you're on a campsite, so do bear that in mind. You've then got your oven and grill, which will all run off gas. And then finally, you've got your Dometic fridge. Now, your Dometic fridge is a three-way system. And it's a three-way system because, in essence, there's 3 ways to fuel it. As you can see up at the top, you've got your on button here. You've then got your 3 options of fuel. So you can either run this fridge off a 230 volt electric, which is the little plug-in icon. You can either run it off gas, which is the little flame symbol, or finally you can run it off your 12 volt leisure battery. Now, when you're going to be using each, when you're on a site and camping, you're going to be using, and you're hooked up rather, you're going to be using the 230 volt electric. When you're wild camping, you'll run this off your gas, which is here, this little symbol here. And then finally, when you're travelling, you'll be running it off your 12 volt leisure battery. Now, a lot of people typically think that when they're wild camping, they can run the fridge off the 12 volt and they have no need to use the gas. However, that's incorrect, because if that was the case, you'd simply drain all the leisure battery of its power. So with that in mind, it will only allow you to select the 12 volt when you're travelling, because this vehicle has a built-in alternator which will send power directly to your leisure battery, which will ultimately power the fridge on the go. The only time you will use the gas is obviously when you're wild camping and you're not hooked up. Now, moving across, you've then got the temperature, which you can alter by pressing the button, and you've also got a reset button there in case you get an error on the fridge. Above the cab, you can see that you've got your big double bed, and all this bedding can stay on here. And if you want, by pushing up, you've got 2 little gas struts on the side here, and that will allow this entire panel to push up, just so it's easier to get in the cab. Now, moving away from the bed, you can see that you've got your seating area here, combined with seat belts for 6. In the back here, you can see I've just dismantled the lounge just to gain you access to where your fuses are located, and basically where the EC400 is, which is basically your power supply unit. Now, as you can see, your fuses are on this side, and your trip switches are just here. So if the vehicle ever trips, you need to come to this point here. Now, a nice little tip is you'll notice you've got a little button here that has a little T on it. Quite difficult to see on the video, but all you need to do, for example, if you're on site and you can't get any power to the vehicle and nothing's working, all you need to do, come to this point here, click that T, and if all of them trip, you know that you're getting power to the vehicle. So there's therefore a fault with your vehicle. So from there you can check the fuses. 9 times out of 10 you'll click that and nothing will happen. The reason for that is you've got a faulty hookup cable, or for example the site has tripped. But as I say, if all them trip, you know you're getting power to the van, and if you can't get a power in the vehicle, you know that there's a fuse that is down. On the Sergeant unit as well, you have got a system shutdown. You should only need to click that when you're hibernating the van, when the vehicle's in hibernation or storage. So only click that. That will just save your battery from, of course, depleting. And then you have got various options in terms of tank heating and things. What I advise is leave these as they are. There's no need to click them. The reason for that is you've got your control panel up here, and that is a lot more usable than all of this. This is really down here for the technicians when you're working on your vehicle. Moving into the back, you've got some storage up here as well as down here. Opening up here, you can see that you have got your infill cushions for when you're making up the beds, and you will notice that you've got your point for your aerial. At the moment this is in the down position, but if you unscrew this white cap, push the aerial up and then tighten that into position, you can then turn your aerial on using the little button on here, and as indicated by the light, everything will be good to go, so you can watch TV and things like that. You have got a little arm on the bottom of here as well, just to tilt the head of the aerial, just for example if you are struggling with signal. Coming away now, and opposite you have got your bathroom area. Opening up the door, you can see We've spoken about your shower, how that operates, so it's dead simple. But down here is your toilet. As I mentioned, the main thing that you need to know with your toilet is that the blade is always closed when travelling and when not in use. The only time the blade on the toilet should be open is when using it. The blade that I keep referencing is this silver or grey lever here. Pull towards you to open it, and then when in use, all the waste can drop into the cassette. Once done that, click your blue button on the top there, which will activate your flush, and then that will drain your system into the cassette. Once you've done that, close the blade, and then you're good to go. Now it's worth mentioning that you will need your pump on for that to flush, and you'll get a red light on here anytime that the cassette is full. So whenever you get that, you of course need to just empty the cassette. Coming back to this, the two main reasons why you always close the blade when not in use is, one, it stops any odours from escaping, but two, it also gets you into the habit of having that closed, so when you remove the cassette, you never run into the earlier issue, as described, of trying to remove it and it gets caught because the blade is still open. So finally, moving to the back of the vehicle, in the back here, underneath this bench seat, you've got a little bit of storage at the front, but you've then got access to your boiler, which is in the corner here. I'm just going to lift this up now for you to show you your drain down point for your boiler. So with the cushions removed and the base just lifted up, you can see that this gives you access to the boiler. Now it looks very complicated, but trust me, it's very, very easy. The only thing that you need to know is what this little yellow button does. This is your drain down point, and in the up position as it is now, it is open, and in the down position, like so, it is closed. Now you should always get into the habit, and I always say this with all of your drain down points, once you have done using the vehicle, open up all of your drain down points. Go over the grid on the site, drain down all the water, and leave everything open as you're travelling home, because the water or the vibrations of the road rather, will get all the water out. The main reason you need to make sure that everything's drained down is to ensure that you don't get any frozen water in this system, because it's a very expensive mistake to make. So just get into the habit of doing that, especially, and you always do this in the colder months. The summer months, there's a little bit of leeway, however, I would still get into and advise to drain down the vehicle, just to get into the habit of draining everything down. So finally, moving over to the other side and dismantling the lounge, you can see that you've got a bit of storage up at the top. Your carpets are just here at the moment, and then your fresh water point, or tank rather, which is your final drain down point, is located here. To drain down this system, all you need to do is remove the cap, as I have done here, and you can see it's very difficult to see on the video. You can see a bit of a light there. That piece of cork there just allows you to drain down the entire freshwater tank. All you need to do is put your hand in there and pull that, and that will drain down the entire thing. So it's dead simple and dead easy, and that is your final drain down point for your fresh water. And as I mentioned, if you are on site, open everything up into the big grid to drain down the bulk of the water, and then leave everything open as you're travelling home, just to empty all that water out, to ensure you're not going to have anything remaining in there. Before I finish up this video, it's worth noting, to make this rear bed, all you need to do is pull this down and then pull this across. It'll then drag lats to it, with it rather. That'll pull to here, and then using these beds, you remove this, and these two couches can pull in together, and these drop down to create a flat and comfortable surface. So that concludes the handover video on the Swift Escape 686. I hope you enjoyed.